Hello and welcome to Beneath Boise State. I'm your host, Brad Verbout. Tonight we have a very special episode. Here at Beneath Boise State, we have the distinct opportunity to meet with individuals from all throughout the community. Tonight's show is no different. We will be meeting with 3 people from 3 different resources here at Boise State. We're going to kick it off with the Bronco Beam app, then we're going to fly over to the Travel Abroad program, and last but not least, we're going to end with a Gender Equity Center. Food insecurity is a big problem here at BSU. Many students suffer from it, but what is it really? The Bronco Beam app comes with a creative solution to a difficult problem. In 2016, 15% of students had troubles with food insecurity. In 2019, that number is down to 34%. We went to Syra Chelovich to see what she had to say with members in our community.
Many students all over the U.S. suffer from food insecurity, meaning they lack reliable access to a sufficient quantity of affordable and nutritious food. And it's no different for some students here at Boise State.
I'm asleep for dinner, and you're just gonna have to live with that.
Because of stories like Lamaro's and the statistics on food insecurity affecting Boise State, this had opened the eyes of a few very special students.
That's where we started realizing, oh my gosh, this is a big need, obviously.
After coming to this realization, the following forward-thinking students, Tyler Chapman, Olivia Thomas, and Isaac Torrero, put their minds together to create a solution.
And then we kind of fit the puzzle pieces together with, well, catering services has excess food left over from every event. And so we were like, well, maybe we can put this together and make an app out of it. And that's where Bronco Beam was formed.
Basically, how the app works is students will download it and log in with their BSU credentials. Then when catering services end up with leftover foods, they send out a food alert describing what is being served, where it's located, and the time frame students have to go pick it up.
Let's go ahead and send the people that are food insecure to the source.
And that's exactly what the Bronco Beam app is currently doing. So far, the creators have heard amazing feedback and are excited to be making a difference on campus for students who suffer from food insecurity.
With this reaction that we've gotten, why we want to take more steps to basically feed on that.
If you or someone you know suffers from food insecurity, download the Bronco Beam app to see just what kind of free food you could get your hands on. Now tonight, I have someone with me who is gracious enough to come out and tell his own personal story with food insecurity and about the Bronco Beam app and how he thinks it would be a great addition to the community here at Boise State. Please help me in welcoming my good friend, Lamaro Agri. So to kind of jump right into it, can you first tell us about when you kind of started experiencing food insecurity?
If I were to actually take it back, it'd probably be around junior high with just low income. I only had one source of income with my dad, that being my dad and a bunch of my siblings. So it was just kind of scary that I had to kind of sort being smart with food choices and stuff like that, and not wasting anything or just eating because I was bored. Just kind of carrying that with me all throughout high school and even now to here in college.
Well, so did you experience food insecurity a little bit more in the beginning of college or a little more in the middle?
Yeah, it was definitely more around the middle part of college, because that's when money was starting to get tight and stuff like that, and I wasn't really being smart with that. So just the fact that I couldn't really go out and eat almost every day with some of my dorm mates because they wanted to go to Burger King or Chick-fil-A or something like that. I would always have to probably just use a meal swipe, go to the BRC or South Fork or something, and I could probably be myself. But yeah, that's the middle parts mostly when it got just started flaring up again.
So I know in our interview before this, we talked a little bit about the other resources you've used to kind of help you combat the situation, like work. What about the Bronco Beam app? How did you hear about it, and do you think this is something that would be good for the university and potentially others?
So yeah, I actually saw the Bronco Beam app when I was walking by the South Fork, and I just picked up a paper and saw what it was and like a little quick description on how it works and stuff like that, and I thought it was cool. I didn't really download it for sure until I heard one of my friends up in MSS talking about it. And that's when I got out my phone. It looked really simple, looked cool, signed in real quick with my email and everything. And it's literally the simplest thing on earth.
That's awesome. So what other resources, can you elaborate a little bit on how you're using work and other things on Boise State to kind of help you combat your situation?
So with my job, like it's a food job, so like sometimes at the end of the day, there's some things that they can't keep due to like freshness and stuff like that. So like they just let like whoever wants it, and if like nobody wants it, like they just throw it out. And so like sometimes I'll take some soup here and there and stuff like that, and maybe some desserts. And that's really like helped me a lot, mostly and it doesn't even have to be like necessarily hunger, because like it's also allowed me to get closer to my roommate, just sharing some food with him as well.
Right,
even
yeah.
though he wasn't like really in the same position as me, just like sharing the food just in general just like got us a bit closer. And then also just the food pantries, because over break I was staying on campus, and Chafee had a food pantry basically for all the residents that stayed, and that really helped because I didn't like all the food spots were closed, so they had like cereal, they had Pop-Tarts and stuff like that, milk, and like a bunch of other items that I could eat in the morning time. And so then after, when I went to work, I would eat there, and so I wouldn't have to like waste money in the morning and night, and then kind of be strapped for cash until that was over with.
For sure. So you kind of talked a little bit about having your roommate there for support. Have you found any kind of community here at Boise State to help you with this situation, or maybe somebody you could go to, or have you kind of found yourself a little isolated?
Yeah, at first I was a bit isolated with this problem because I didn't really know like my sort of crowd was out there. And it wasn't until I had a friend told me about the Black Student Association, and they told me about they told me about food pantries and other resources around BSU, and that really helped me out like a lot.
That's awesome. Yeah, and I know we talked about representation during our interview, and do you think that could have helped you even like now or in the future for other students a little bit more?
Definitely, because as I said earlier, with the Bronco BMAP, I wasn't like really 100% sure if it was like trustable or reliable, but like having those friends that like had the same situations as me and are also the same color as me, that really helped like give like credibility and like the trustfulness that I can use to like actually go ahead and go with it. So yeah, I think representation is very important with this sort of topic.
Well, you even coming out here and speaking to us about this situation, you're representing a lot of students who probably struggle just like you. And yeah, thank you so much for this great conversation.
No
we
problem.
learned a lot, and yeah, thank you for being here.
You're welcome.
And now back to you, Brad.
Thanks, Sarah. Food insecurity is a serious problem and one that doesn't get talked about enough. Coming up next, we'll be looking into why the Study Abroad program has become so popular. Don't go anywhere.
I loved living on campus because you were convenient to your classes and food, and you just meet like the best friends, and it's just a great time living on campus. You walk through the halls and you see people you know, and they ask you how your day is, and you just feel like you're in this big family, and it's a great community.
I have really enjoyed living on campus just because there's a huge community. You get to know so many more people than you would if you didn't live on campus. You get to interact with people, and your college experience is more vibrant and it's not just about school anymore and academics, but you get to know people and grow as a person.
It definitely did benefit me. You're close to the library, you're close to other people who are in the same classes, and so you can meet up, do homework. And just like having people like next to you who are students helps you be more focused in school.
I love going to athletic games, and I love how easy it is, and I always know when the games are because there's always stuff being posted. You're always getting emails from housing and all the events going around on campus, that it really just like gives you so many options to get involved in different ways. So that's probably my favorite thing.
One of the things I thought is the most beneficial, being from the Valley even, is still living on campus. Being able to gain those skills of independence while still having all of the student support networks here on campus, and knowing that my parents are, a city away, I think that it's super valuable to stay on campus no matter where you're from, to be honest. And I would do it a million times over.
Welcome back. We just got done discussing the troubles of food insecurity. Coming up next, we'll be talking about how amazing the travel abroad program is. Did you know that 2.7% of students study abroad nationally? And that means that there are about 300 students here at BSU from abroad. Safe to say it's become just more popular overall. Oh, hey, Demi, how are you?
Oh.
You look all dressed up.
Hey, Brad, thank you.
Can you tell me why the study abroad program has become more popular?
I can. I actually went on Boise State's campus to find out just why so many students are catching flights.
If you really want to travel and get to know a place, this is the best opportunity to do it.
Students from all over the world take advantage of the opportunity to study abroad. But why not just travel?
The difference between just going on a trip and traveling and doing a study abroad program, even if it's a shorter term program, is that you're taking the time to really integrate yourself into that local culture.
With such a big venture does come its challenges. But as Mark Twain once said, courage is not a lack of fear, but acting in spite of it.
I know sometimes it's pretty hard to travel around, to go somewhere else because you're afraid of different things. Maybe there will be a time where you say, well, I want to go home, and you're a little bit homesick, but it's worth it.
Learning how to live in a new place is different, but I mean, the program made it really easy for us to introduce us and, make sure we weren't just diving in head first.
With the study abroad program there for support and the courage to step out of their comfort zone, these students were able to gain new global perspectives and transform as individuals.
If someone is on the fence about making the decision to study abroad, to at least come into our office and visit us and have that conversation.
Reaching out to the Center for Global Education is the perfect way to discover if a study abroad program is right for you. If you have any interest, these study abroad alumni say,
100% you need to just go out and do it.
Just do it and keep an open mind.
Just do it and live your life.
Now I'm sure you're just dying how you can study abroad. First, you'll want to think about where you might go and what kind of things are important to you while traveling. Once you've decided on a region, you'll want to find a program that can take you there. Definitely research the language, costs, and classes they offer. After grasping a better idea of where you might want to go, you can call the Study Abroad office and book a Study Abroad 101 session. From there, your academic advisor will help guide you towards a program you want to apply for. And once you've applied, you'll get your passport if you don't already have one and apply for a student visa. It might sound like a lot of steps, but the Global Opportunity Center will help you along the way, and you can always find more information at Boise State's website. Joining me this evening is a Boise State Study Abroad alumni. She traveled in Spain, and her name is Ariana Crito. Thank you for joining me.
Thank you for having me.
I'm so excited you're here, and when did you study abroad?
I studied abroad fall 2018 and spring 2019, so the whole year.
And where exactly did you go in Spain?
I studied abroad in Madrid, Spain, but I was able to travel all over.
Awesome.
Mm-hmm.
What made you travel abroad in the first place?
My purpose for studying abroad was to have a conversation with my grandma, or my abuelita in Spanish. She's from Venezuela, and so it was really important to me.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And what was that experience like, getting to kind of know your roots and your history?
The experience made me realize I had been learning Spanish wrong before my whole life.
Wow.
I never understood tenses, and nothing really clicked until I actually lived in the country.
So language was definitely a benefit.
Yeah, absolutely.
What was some other benefits you got from studying abroad?
I feel like I was able to understand more about family dynamics and business and even classroom dynamics just from living in a different culture. It's so easy to think that the way we're living in the US right now is maybe the best way, but there's definitely other options.
And how do you think you've changed as a person?
I think I've become more curious and more excited to learn more and talk to different types of people.
That's so awesome. And if you could study abroad again, where might you choose?
That's a really hard question, but I think studying abroad in Alicante, Spain, it's not a cop-out answer because all the regions are so different, but it was really beautiful there. And in the South, everything's paced a little slower.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
What's some funny things that you notice when you're studying abroad that maybe is different, way different the U.S.?
I think it was funny how it's acceptable there to stare at people. Here, if we're standing on opposite ends of the street and we maintain eye contact for an extended amount of time, it's pretty awkward.
Yeah,
but
interesting.
Over there, it's totally okay.
Is there anything you learned in the culture that you hold true to yourself now? Something that you took home?
I took back the appreciation of time. Over there, the days feel longer, and you leave your work at work, and afterwards, it's just a whole lot of time with your friends and family. So I brought back spending time more wisely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And describe to me a day in the life of a study abroad student.
It starts off by waking up really early and taking the metro to school. Over here, it takes me like 5 minutes to walk to class. Over there, it takes me like 40 minutes to take the metro. So I start there, and then I finish my classes. I walk to a cafe, and always practicing my Spanish, eating tapas, and on the weekends, or I guess on a Friday, I'd say it was normal for a night to end at like 6 in the morning.
Wow.
Yeah.
And then you have to do it all over again and wake up early?
Yeah.
Wow.
I don't know how they have the energy or time.
Yeah, that's a lot. So for someone, I'm studying abroad in Italy. For someone who's maybe on the fence, or to me, because I'm studying abroad, what advice would you give me?
I would say if you're nervous about something or you don't know if you're ready, plan a trip, budget, and pick out places that you can see yourself going. And that just makes it more of a reality. You learn something from every experience, and why not?
Yeah. And so you say budgeting. As a student, to pay for something like study abroad, is it affordable? Are there resources for students to study abroad?
Absolutely. Through my program, they have their own scholarships that you can apply for. I studied through USAC, and then the Global Learning Opportunities Office also has scholarships available, and their website is packed with information. But of course, working a lot of hours ahead of time is probably like the safest way to plan.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, all I can say is I know you're a wealth of knowledge, and your experience will definitely help me, and it will help other students that want to study abroad as well. Thank you so much for talking with me about that and offering some helpful tips.
Yeah.
I appreciate that. So if you want to study abroad, go to Boise State's website for more information. Now back to you, Brad.
Thanks, Demi. The study abroad program is something that I'm definitely considering. Coming up next, we'll be talking about the importance of sexual assault awareness. Don't go anywhere.
Meal swipe is like when you swipe into BRC, and it's cafeteria style, and you can like choose whatever you want. And like a meal replacement, it was when you go to a restaurant on campus and they have different options. So like at Subway, for example, you can get a 6-inch sandwich, a drink, and chips, and that would be like the meal replacement there. Other places on campus that do meal replacements are Panda Express, Grill Works, Einstein's. And if you don't want to get the meal replacement there, that's where you can use your flex dollars, and you can choose anything on the menu, but it will go out of your flex dollars instead of your meal swipes.
One of my favorite things has to be the fact that I'm vegan, and at first they did have a little bit of options, but housing made it really great for me to give feedback and say, well, I'm vegan and I have a meal plan and I can't cook and there's some options not available to me, and they responded immediately. And in the year after, they had a lot more vegan options and also gluten-free options, because my best friend was gluten-free, and we both talked to housing, and it said, you know, we could talk to them and they would give us these options, and it was on their website, and we were like, okay, we'll talk to you. It totally worked out.
You want to have a meal plan because you will not cook for yourself. You're going to think that you're going to cook for yourself and you're going to take care of yourself an adult. It's not going to happen. You're going to get busy, so you definitely want a meal plan.
Welcome back. We just had a great conversation about the Study Abroad program. Coming up, we'll be discussing the importance of sexual assault awareness. We'll be talking about misconceptions and how it affects students here at Boise State. I had a couple of interviews with students on campus and see what they had to say about the issue.
To me, sexual assault is unwarranted physical contact or forcing oneself into a physical situation.
To me, sexual assault is any type of physical threat or physical contact that is done in a sexual way, and I think usually is done without consent as well.
I think Boise State does a really good job protecting us from sexual assault, especially with the tests they give out at the beginning of the year to the incoming freshmen, so they know what to look for, what sexual assault is, and how to report it if it happens to them.
I think Boise State does do a good job of protecting me and classmates because they have a lot of the blue boxes around campus and they have specific regulations I have to follow for that. And they also send out emails regarding sexual assault and how to protect yourself and others and how to watch out for it.
I think sexual assault is a big deal at a lot of college campuses. However, I feel like it's not that prevalent here at Boise State just because we're such a closer knit community than most schools are, and everyone kind of knows each other. So, I mean, I feel like that plays a part in why we have a fairly low sexual assault case compared to the national average.
I think at all college campuses, sexual assault is obviously a really big deal. But at BSU, I think it's a smaller scale just because, I mean, I might be biased, but I think that we do a lot more things to prevent sexual assault. But I say it's a big deal because I do know people that have been sexual assaulted and I know how badly it affects them. So it is a big deal, but I think here it's on a smaller scale.
Those were some great interviews. It was really interesting to see what everyday students had to say about such an important topic. Today, I'm joined by Blake Hunter, who is a peer educator at the Gender Equity Center. So thank you for coming on.
Thanks for having me.
And what does a peer educator do?
So a peer educator at the Gender Equity Center, we have 3 positions currently. And basically our job is to program certain events around particular topics. So mine is healthy relationships, which includes talking about consent and things like sexual assault.
Okay, awesome. So as someone who has a lot of knowledge on the subject, what constitutes a sexual assault?
So sexual assault is actually kind of an umbrella term. So it essentially stands for anything that is non-consensual and sexual. So any type of behavior that is sexual in nature but did not, one or more partners did not give explicit consent.
Interesting. And how often does sexual assault occur?
That's a tough question. We know that like any sexual assault is a bad number, but unfortunately we also know that it's extremely prevalent. And one of the hurdles to giving a complete answer to that question is that about 3 in 4, it's estimated that about 3 in 4 sexual assaults actually go unreported.
Oh, really?
And there's a lot of barriers to that. So a lot of times victims don't feel like they're going to be believed. Oftentimes they don't think that there's many resources available to them. It's kind of estimated that about 1 in 6 women experience sexual assault in their lifetime, and 1 in 33 men do, but the data really ranges on that. And unfortunately, people of genders other than men and women experience a lot more sexual assault.
And so you mentioned that resources are hard to come by. What resources are available at Boise State to students?
Yeah, so the Gender Equity Center is one. And so one of the things that the Gender Equity Center does is probably one of the most important things, which is educate people and teach people how to intervene. And so we do workshops in classes around campus, so anyone can actually request a workshop in their class, and that's a really good way that we actually get into people's lives on campus and they can kind of put faces to the idea of the Gender Equity Center. We also provide a space that people can come to, and then one big thing that we do is offer support services to students, faculty, and staff, and we have a lot of survivors of sexual assault use that because it's no cost and it's actually confidential. Yeah.
Interesting. And so going back to the interviews, and you are a peer educator, that means you talk to students, you help educate them. Do you find that there's a lot of misconceptions and misconstrued evidence when discussing something as sensitive as sexual assault?
Absolutely. One of the things that sexual assault, well, the thing that sexual assault always comes back to is power and control. And so a perpetrator will use their power and control over the victim. And that ties back into a lot of things where the people who live at intersectionalized or marginalized identities in our communities are unfortunately the people who experience sexual assault at the highest rates. So transgender women, Native women, Indigenous women, and women with disabilities, people in the LGBTQIA+ community in general experience a lot higher rates of sexual assault. And so that is kind of the thing that ties back into the power and control.
Interesting. Yeah. And so Boise State is a college campus. How does sexual assault manifest itself on a college campus as compared to outside?
Yeah, so actually we kind of have a myth in our culture where we think that like sexual assault is committed by someone who like is a stranger, breaks into homes and things like that, and that does happen. But about 8 in 10 victims of sexual assault actually know their perpetrator. So it's far more likely to be a friend, a family member, unfortunately, just any acquaintance. And then as far as around universities and campuses, we actually also know that sexual assault is far more prevalent off campuses, so in private residence, but around campus.
Interesting.
Yep.
And so you alluded to it that the victim 8 times out of 10 knows the suspect, and that might be part of the reason why people don't believe them. So what barriers do victims have to overcome for others to believe them?
Well, yeah, so the big thing is there's a lot of people who think that sexual violence is misreported far more than other crimes. So like people often think that like there's a lot of false accusers when it comes to rape and any kind of sexual assault, and that's actually not true. Sexual assault is misreported or falsely reported at the same rates as every other crime. So that's a big thing. So when people come forward with their stories about sexual assault, they're often misbelieved. And that's a big problem that we face. Because the people who are being accused, like I talked about earlier, often have more power and control over their victims.
Interesting. And so part of it is there's a system at Boise State where if someone gets sexually assaulted, they have to send out a timely notice, and it's a federal law, and it goes layers deep. And so why is that important that students know about sexual assault and it happening on campus?
I think so that we can educate our friends and we can intervene and know how to respond to these situations, and also what resources are at our fingertips.
Great. And so there's public safety officers on campus, there's Boise State police officers, there's state sheriffs, and of course there's the Gender Equity Center for more niche problems. And so why would someone go to the police other than the Gender Equity Center? Like what problem constitutes as a police problem and what problem constitutes as a Gender Equity Center problem?
So you're right in that every case is specific and has its own demands. But I think one nice thing about the Gender Equity Center is it's very welcoming. Oftentimes the police mean very well, but they can be sometimes pretty threatening or feel threatening. And the Gender Equity Center is a place where we like to give people their autonomy back so that they have control of whatever happens next.
Awesome. That was a great interview, great conversation. Unfortunately, we are out of time. And so tonight, I'd like to give a big thanks to the cast here at Beneath Boise State. Director, Kelsey Rhodes, Executive Producer, Ryan Urea, Director, Sabrina Saragot, and Technical Floor Technician, Ray Mullins. Have a good night. Thank you for watching.